Okay, when you hear the name Napoleon Bonaparte, what comes to mind? Probably the French Empire, right? Grand armies, the tricolor flag, the works. But what if I told you that the man who became the absolute symbol of French power once despised France with every single fiber of his being? It's a wild piece of history, and it all kicks off with one incredibly angry quote.
When the homeland is no more, a true patriot must die. Wow, those are some powerful words. But here's the twist. These aren't the words of a French emperor. No, they were written by a furious 18-year-old Napoleon who is completely devastated by France's conquest of his real homeland, the island of Corsica.
So that's the big question we're going to dig into. How does that guy, the passionate Corsica nationalist who saw the French as his sworn enemies, do a complete 180 and become their emperor? It's an incredible story of ambition, rejection, and ultimately, total reinvention.
To really get the emperor, you have to understand the rebel first. And Napoleon's story doesn't start in Paris. It starts with him being an angry young outsider from a newly conquered island.
The timing here is just everything. Napoleon was born only 1 year after France took over Corsica, so he wasn't born French. He was born a subject of a foreign conquering nation. And that one fact shaped his entire youth. When his parents sent him off to military school in France at just 9 years old, he was pretty much walking straight into enemy territory.
And this really shows you just how much of an outsider he was. I mean, can you imagine? You're a kid, you're in military school, surrounded by the sons of French aristocrats, and you can barely even speak their language. His thick Corsican accent made him a constant target. His classmates bullied him all the time, which, only made him dig his heels in deeper as a Corsican and fueled his hatred for everything French. For years, all Napoleon dreamed about was going back home to Corsica and fighting for its independence. But when he finally got his shot, the very movement he believed in turned its back on him. And this moment, this was the turning point of his entire life.
So what happened? Well, it was a huge clash of ideals. Napoleon absolutely idolized a man named Pasquale Paoli, the famous leader of the Corsican resistance. To young Napoleon, Paoli was the ultimate patriot. But Paoli, he saw things very differently. He looked at Napoleon's family who had accepted jobs and titles from the French, and he saw them as collaborators. So to Napoleon's hero, he wasn't a patriot at all. He was the son of a traitor.
And this was it, the final brutal break. In 1793, his hero Paoli and the Corsican government officially declared the Bonapartes outlaws. They were forced to flee their home and escape to mainland France. At just 23 years old, Napoleon's dream was completely shattered. He was a man without a country, thrown out by the very people he'd spent his whole life wanting to fight for.
Now, a rejection that profound could have easily broken him. But instead, it kind of unleashed him. With his Corsican identity totally destroyed, Napoleon's massive ambition needed a new place to go. And he found it in the chaos of revolutionary France.
You see, Napoleon was, above all else, a pragmatist. That painful exile basically burned away all his youthful idealism. He realized, okay, if I can't free Corsica, I'm going to conquer the opportunities right in front of me in France. His loyalty wasn't to a place anymore. It was to his own ambition.
So, his new path was crystal clear. The French Revolution had just completely upended the old system, creating this massive power vacuum. For a brilliant military strategist who didn't have any noble family connections, this was the perfect storm. He proved himself on the battlefield again and again, rising through the ranks at a breathtaking speed. He offered victory and stability to a nation that was desperate for both. And in doing so, he made himself absolutely indispensable to the country he once hated.
All right, so this brings us to the final stage of his incredible transformation. The ultimate outsider becomes the ultimate insider. And when he gets there, he doesn't just rule France, he completely remakes it from the ground up.
I mean, his impact was just enormous. He created the Napoleonic Code, set up the Bank of France, and built a system based on merit, not who your father was. He brought order out of the pure chaos of the revolution. And in the most amazing twist of fate, the guy was bullied and rejected by the French aristocracy, created a new France where your talent mattered more than your name. He literally built the foundations of the modern French nation. So Napoleon's story really leaves us with this question, doesn't it? Was he defined by his Corsican birth and all that early rage? Or was he really forged in the fire of his greatest failure, the loss of his homeland? His life seems to suggest that sometimes the identity we're forced to build when our first one is ripped away can be the one that ends up changing the world.